All right, before we move to the next section, let me go ahead and fix this API endpoint right here. So basically, you can see that in order for us to get a list of students, we have configured this endpoint right here using Spring Boot. So this requests mapping to students, right? So, but usually what you tend to do is to actually have API and then / and then students. So I could do this, and if I restart my server and go back to Chrome and then refresh the browser, you can see that that doesn't work. And I need to add API, so API and then students. So this is one approach, but that means that you need to add API / and then the path to every single endpoint that you have. So instead, what we can do is use property files. So if I go back and open up a new browser and then say Spring and then properties, and then right here, you can see that we have an appendix of common application properties. So open that up. And right here, you can see that we can specify properties inside of application.properties or application.yaml. So you can either use one or the other. I personally prefer YAML because the syntax is much nicer, and also you can have comments, right? So if I scroll down, you can see that this is a list of all properties that you can have within Spring Boot. So you can disable the banner, and if I scroll down, you can change the server port. You can, add a Spring Mail password. If I scroll down, you can have some profiles. So basically web properties. So right here, you can change the server port. So right now we are serving on localhost 8080. But if you want to change that, you simply set this property and then changing according to your port. But we're going to leave it as it is. Yeah, so basically, let's go ahead and actually change a property that will allow us to have the API in every single endpoint. So / API and then the actual name. So the property name that we want, it's called. So if I open up resources, so make sure that you are inside of resources, and then let's go ahead and delete this application.properties. And let's create a file called application dot and then YAML. So if I go back to the docs, so right at the top, you can see that we have application.yaml. It's the same as the application.properties. So let me go back to Spring, and right here, I'm going to have this property called server. And then inside of it, we have servlet. And then inside of servlet, we have context and then dash path. And then the actual path will be API. So anytime that we define an endpoint, we want to have / API by default. So now if I restart my server, you can see that's up and running. And also, let me actually change the port so you can see the number. So port, let's say that we want to change this to port 5000, for example. So right here, you can see that it's currently 8080. If I restart, you can see that now it's 5000. But I don't like this 5000. I'm going to stick with the defaults. And if I restart again, and then go back to Chrome, and right here, so let me just try and hit the localhost 8080 / student. So this is what we had before. You can see that we get a 404 not found. But now I can go ahead and simply say API / and then students, and there we go. So now we have to fix our front end. So if I go back to React app and then refresh, you can see that this doesn't work anymore. Now go back to VS Code and open up client.js, and right here simply say API and then students. If I save that go back, you can see that now it's working. So there we go. I just want to make sure that we write APIs the right way. Next, we're going to look at how to connect to a real database.